Well, hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, wherever you are on the face of the earth today and right now. The Bible says this is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it, and that makes my heart glad. But today I just remember the scripture in Lamentations chapter 3, verse 23 that says, the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are renewed every morning. So I'd like to encourage you wherever you are. Doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter what you're going through right now. God's love for you is unchangeable. And it has been renewed even this very second that we're speaking. My name is Pastor Chinelo Dillimono, and I am the host of the Christian Life. This is the Christian Life live sessions on Facebook and on YouTube. And it's been my pleasure, it's been my honor to always bring this program to you every week, every Thursday at 1 p.m. I know it's been such a blessing. The feedback I get for every one of you who sends a feedback, thank you so much for your feedback, for your encouragement, for your suggestions, and just simply by just clicking that play button and listening to this Jesus girl share her thoughts with you and with her friends and her guests. Well, today, I woke up really pretty excited because of the topic. And the person I'm going to be speaking with. Last week we talked about the Christian wife, and it was really amazing. So if you didn't get to watch it, I'd like you to just go back on my YouTube channel and just go and take a very good sit down with a cup of tea and some crackers and just watch and be blessed by it. All right, so you can watch the Christian wife, and today we're going to be talking about the Christian husband. And I want to read a scripture in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. In verse 4, it says that each of you should know how to possess his own vessel in sanctification and in honor. And I read in another version where it says that each one should learn how to acquire a wife in honor. So there is a way that God expects us to acquire a wife that brings honor both to the man himself and to the God he serves. So before I begin to talk like I can, I'd like this moment to introduce to you my brother. He's my brother, he's my friend, he's a relationship coach. He hosts a program every quarter of the year in the city of Port Harcourt, Nigeria, titled My Marriage Must Work. He's the author of several books. He's a husband of one wife with several children, and he's a true lover of Jesus. And he's his passion is relationships, marriage, and just making sure that you get married and your marriage works. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to, with a whole love and joy in my heart, introduce to you Reverend Dr. Joe Igboanugo. You're welcome, sir.
Welcome, Pastor Chinelo. And then, good afternoon.
It's on.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are listening to us, watching all over the world. God bless you. You have come to be rejuvenated in
Amen.
Your relationship life, your family life, as we talk today about the Christian husband. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Let me start by asking you how your girlfriend is doing, first of all, before we start going into all the other stories. How's your girlfriend doing? How is the nest that God has given to you?
Wow, she is doing quite well. I think she's much better than me. And then a very calm woman, very homely woman. I'm not trying to toast her here. That's exactly what she is.
Right.
A very peaceful woman, the kind of wife any husband should desire to have. So she's cool. She's fine.
Thank you so much. Now, when I called you and told you that we're going to be talking about the Christian husband, I always ask my guests this because I always want to know what's the first thing that hit your heart and your mind. Somehow it lets me know where your heart will be driving through when we start the conversation. What's the first thing that crossed your mind when I mentioned we're going to be talking about the Christian husband?
The first thing that crossed my mind is I dissected the word Christian and husband.
Come on.
So the first thing that crossed my mind is Christian, husband. So the Christian qualifies the husband.
The type of husband.
The type of husband that we are talking about. We are not generally talking about husbands. We are talking about the Christian husband. Who is a Christian? Who is a Christian? As a matter of fact, you are a Christian first before you become a husband. That's the kind of people we are talking about today. So what crossed my mind first is, who is a Christian? Not a church person. Who is a Christian? And a Christian is the person that is, we can say, a little Jesus.
Right.
A version of Jesus.
Right.
A representative of Jesus that heads a home is a Christian husband. So you must first be a Christian, not be in church, not even be a pastor. You must be a Christian.
A lover of Jesus.
A lover of Jesus. A disciple of Jesus.
Oh, come on. I needed that word.
A disciple of Jesus.
Right.
Before you become husband. A disciple of Jesus. That is very key.
That you are a disciple who loves Jesus, knows Jesus, and obeys Jesus.
Obeys Jesus.
Because you can know about him, because you read the Bible, much as it's a living book, it's also a history book. So you could know the history of the Bible, but not have the spirit of the Bible. So what makes you the Christian husband is the fact that the spirit of Christ dwells in you. Is that what you're saying?
As a matter of fact, I was given an illustration about the wedding at Cana of Galilee.
Right.
Where Jesus turned water into wine. Now, we often sing songs like, when Jesus is in a family, it's a happy home.
Right.
You know, and we hang some banners and stuff. Now, that Jesus was in that wedding did not make any difference. What made a difference was the obedience of the people to the instructions of Jesus. So that somebody is a believer, somebody goes to church, somebody married in the church, wedded in the church, is a leader in the church, does not make the person a Christian.
Right.
What makes your marriage a Christian marriage, what makes you a Christian husband, is that you are a disciple of Jesus, you are obeying the instructions of Jesus, you are a lover of Jesus. Jesus is your number one priority in running your life as a husband.
As a husband.
So that's what makes us.
So it's not first that you're a husband, but that Jesus is a pilot of your husbanding.
Yes.
If there's a word like that.
Yes. Of your husbandness, yes.
Yes.
You know, that when you think that I'm a husband, you first think that I'm a Christian.
Ooh.
That's what comes in there. Not that I have a wife, or I have children, or I paid bride price. First, I'm a Christian. I'm a husband.
Right.
So I am holding my home, my wife, in custody for Jesus.
Ooh.
I am modeling Jesus to my wife, to my children. Just like Jesus takes the church as the bride.
Right.
So Jesus is the husband of the church. So anybody that can brand himself as a Christian husband should emulate Jesus.
Now you've taken me on another journey. You talked about that you're holding the wife for Jesus.
In custody
for Jesus.
Yes.
So it will bring me to this question. Can any man really say he owns his wife?
Wow. Now we can say yes or no.
Right.
Now we can say yes, he owns his wife, not in the nature of ownership, but he owns the wife that it is your responsibility. You are responsible to your wife. It's your responsibility to take care of your wife. So she is your responsibility. It is that kind of ownership I'm talking about.
Right.
Because Jesus owned the church.
Right.
Now, she is your responsibility. Somebody asked me, why do husbands have to sit at the right-hand side of their wives and not at the left-hand side? I said that a man's right hand is for war and battle and defense. So when your wife is seated by your left-hand side, and anything comes to her, it is you own her. You own the responsibility to defend her. You use the right hand and give a punch to the enemy.
Wow.
So, but not in the ownership of she's my property. Not in that dimension.
Of course, I went back to school to study law, so I'm a lawyer. And in law, I love what you're saying because when I studied law and they taught us about ownership and possession.
Yes.
Now, I may own this building, but I'm not the one in possession.
In possession, correct.
So the husband is in possession of the wife, but he doesn't have the title deed of ownership of the wife. That's what you're trying to say.
That's true.
Awesome. So this now brings me to a question. What are the key values that every Christian husband must uphold? Now that you've said he has to be a Christian, he has to be in obedience to Christ, he has to be submitted to the word of God. What are the key values that you think, at least give me 3, 4, 5 Christian values that you think should be irrevocable in the life of a Christian husband if he must succeed in his marriage?
Now, I will start with the scripture in 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 3, where the Bible says that God is the head of
the man,
of Christ. Christ is the head of the man. And the man is the head of the wife. So the primary value a believer husband, a Christian husband should hold is that I am the leader of my wife.
Right.
Leadership value.
Okay.
Leadership value, not boss value. Now, a leader goes to the next level of making sacrifices.
Okay.
So it is in a husband's nature to make sacrifices.
Right.
We have a society today where it is the wives that makes those kind of sacrifices. It is an aberration. A wife denies himself. One day I came back home. My daughter, always very intelligent and smart, asked me, "Daddy, why are you so hungry? And you went out, you went to 1 or 2 places. Why didn't you enter somewhere and have some bites?" I said, "No, I don't feel comfortable sitting down somewhere eating when I've not gotten home." So there are some sacrifices to make as a husband. Is the virtue we saw in Jesus that is sacrificed for the church. The virtue we saw in Jesus. That the third one is humility.
Right.
You can't be a Christian husband without humility. Why do we need humility? Because things that we test whom you are, test your character,
right,
will happen to you. Test your patience will happen to you. So humility and meekness is a primary value that a husband should have. Now, when a husband begins to exercise himself as a boss, it has begun to defy humility and meekness. So I've talked about leadership. I've talked about sacrifice. I've talked about meekness and humility. Then patience. Patience. Then, let me mention this before we continue. A husband should have a large heart. I tell people that women, I'm not doing that to berate any woman. I have many of them. My wife, I have 2 major ones. My wife and my daughter, they are my 2 major commanders in the house. Now, women are not matured until they're about 80 years. So
excuse me?
Yes.
Wait, are you trying to say that as I am now, I'm not yet mature?
You're a babe. You're a girl. My mother matured when she was 80. Why am I saying this? On a light mood anyway.
Yes.
Now, you should treat your wife like a girl, like a baby. You need to have a large heart. There are many things women do that can make a man throw tantrums, make a man angry. When I see a man dedicate time to fight and quarrel with the wife, that's a boy. A Christian husband should be above temperamentally.
Should have the stamina to overlook
many things about the wife. Where you see that husbands, we have not gotten there, we're going to get there. Husband, love your wife. Love your wife is not baby, I love you. It's bigger than baby, I love you. It's bigger. How do you know somebody who loves somebody? When the person you say you love has offended you, your attitude, your behavior, your reaction determines whether you love or not. So that's where the husband should have a large heart. Can you imagine Jesus, the husband to the bride church, what he takes on behalf of the church?
What he takes from us every day.
And we still come to pray. He has not killed us. He hasn't destroyed us.
He hasn't withdrawn his blessing.
Has not withdrawn his privileges he gave to us.
Oh,
how can you tell me? How will I love a woman who doesn't submit to me?
I'm going to get there because I'm still going to ask you about submission. You know, submission is one of the most controversial
After
subjects.
love, the next is submission.
Submission is the most controversial.
So
we're going to get there. Okay. Yes. Now, taking away traditions and culture, because part of what I'm trying to do on the Christian life is our vision is to walk our talk. And everything has got to be rooted in Scripture, not our opinions or our experiences. Because I find that in the body of Christ, in many ways, we talk about our opinions, our experiences, and many times they're not founded on the Word. Okay, so taking away traditions, taking away cultures, you know, what are the expectations of the Christian husband by God? What does he want to see from the Christian husband?
Okay.
I don't know if my question is, you know, clear or if it is the same as the first question the second question I asked you.
No,
but
it's clear.
Yeah, from God's perspective, when God is where God is and he's looking at the Christian husband, what is God expecting from him as a husband?
Now I'm going to start from the experience of Abraham.
Right.
And God's testimony about Abraham.
Mm-hmm.
In Genesis 18, verse 19. When the angel was on his way to Sodom and Gomorrah to destroy it, he said, I'm not going to bypass this man. I'm going to tell him what I'm about to do because he's a friend of God. So now, one of the criterion that God said, this is why I should talk to Abraham, is in Genesis 18, verse 19. That's also the primary criterion by which God looks at any husband, Christian husband. He said, Genesis 18, verse 19, for I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him. And they shall keep the way of the Lord to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he has spoken of him. God's perspective of a husband is a little bit deeper. Number one, he is fatherhood.
Right.
A Christian husband, God's first expectation is fatherhood. You father your wife, father your children.
Okay, because I was going to ask you fatherhood. Okay, I understand that.
Yes, fatherhood. You are a father to your wife. You are a father to your children. Fatherhood. I'm going to give details later if there's time.
Right.
Then the next one, on God's perspective about a Christian husband, is priesthood. You are the chief priest of your house. It's priesthood. Like a pastor, general overseer, you are the general overseer of the house. Spiritually,
you must lead the way.
You should lead the way on spiritual adventures and journey and mentorship and training and grooming. You should model God to your children. Model God to your wife. As a Christian husband. Then you are the prophet over your house. The husband is the voice that speaks destinies, future, releases. The Bible says in Psalm 127 is like as arrows in the hand of the mighty, so are the children of the youth. He said, now the father will shoot the arrows, the father they go in destiny. So a Christian husband is a priest. Can you remember when Isaac and Rebekah had issues with conception?
Yeah.
The Bible said in Genesis 25, verse 21, 22, or thereabout, that Isaac prayed for the wife, entreated the Lord for the wife.
He entreated, that word, absolutely, entreated the Lord.
Entreat means it's not one day prayer. He fasted. So a Christian husband is a priest over the wife. Then the last one here is kingship. Where the word of the king is, there is power. You have a domain. Your family is your domain. Your wife is your domain. You stop the devil from encroaching your domain.
Hallelujah.
You stop the world from encroaching your domain. Hallelujah. You take charge of that domain. God's perspective for a Christian husband is that you are a father. You represent God as a father. Number two, you are the priest over the house. The stronger the priesthood in the house, the more spiritual the family is. When they go to the macro church, the church flourishes. If you have about 40, 50, 60, 100 husbands in a church, who are actually priests at home, the church will be very powerful.
Wow. Wow.
And a priest makes sacrifices for the family. Can you imagine Job? He makes sacrifices for the children. Even when the wife misbehaved, he didn't insult the wife. Yes, yes. But he remained as a Christian husband. Praise God.
Hallelujah. Awesome. Awesome. Is there anything else you want to tell us?
Now, the major thing I want to talk about God's perspective for a Christian husband is that the fifth one is that God expects him to be husband. Now,
I like the sandwich now.
Yes.
You started by father, and then you now sandwich it with husband.
Yes.
All right.
Father, priest, prophet, king and husband. Now, what is a husband? In agricultural language, a husbandman is like a shepherd. He's like a gardener. There's somebody who takes care of a garden.
Right.
A husband is not the same as hunchback. Husband a husband
is not the same as hunchback.
Manager, somebody who takes care of somebody. You pick somebody's daughter, you take care of her as a garden, and that garden begin to produce your children. You nurture and take care. That takes me back to what God did to Adam. He produced a beautiful garden and said, take care of this garden.
Right. Right.
And as he was taking care of the garden, he added another quality of the garden, which was the wife.
Right.
So take care of this. Do you know what happened in Genesis chapter 3?
Tell me.
When Adam traveled, he probably traveled abroad. Before he came back, the wife had sold the house, sold the property, and collected money, and was handed over to Adam. Adam knew that God said, don't touch this particular tree of the garden. The wife has failed God. Adam did not deny the wife in that failure of God. Adam would have said, if Adam is today's husband, he would have said, I am not there. Go and serve your punishment in the hand of God.
By yourself.
Adam collected the fruit or whatever and ate it and stood in the garden. Now, when God came, God didn't say, where is your wife? If where are you? Say, Adam, where art thou? He stood as a husband and took the punishment together. That would have begun polygamy. Because God doesn't punish a non-offender. So Adam, by revelation of what Jesus did for us today, he took our place. A husband takes bullets for the family. A husband takes over and nurtures the family. If you go to Ephesians chapter 5, we are going to talk that one later. You see what God told husband to do to the wife.
To the wife. Wow. Wow, this is really, really, really deep. You know, that the husband takes the bullets for the wife. The husband, he knows it will hurt him. He knows it's not him. But he chooses, because he's a husband, to take it for the wife. That's an amazing, amazing thought. Well, just in case you're just tuning in, my name is Pastor Chinelo Dillimono. This is the Christian live sessions on Facebook and on YouTube. Today, my guest has been Reverend Dr. Joe Igboanugo, the relationship guru himself. And we're talking about the Christian husband. Now, you know, as you're speaking, I mean, just telling me the key things that God expects from a husband now puts me in a place of a certain level of fear for the young men that are getting married. Right? Because literally every Saturday there's a wedding going on. But I want to ask, it's my assumption that many of them don't prepare for the marriage. They prepare for the wedding. Some of them provide the money for the wedding. Some of them, it's actually the woman that provides the money for their wedding. But that's a different kettle of fish entirely. But what are the key preparations? You've been a husband for over 20 years, right? I'm sure you have a story to tell on your journey. Now, as a father in faith and, you know, a teacher of relationships, what are the key things you think a young man today who's getting married should focus on in preparation for his marriage?
God bless you. Thank you, Pastor Chi. Last Sunday, in my online seminar, I mentioned 7 types of men no Christian women should marry.
Right. I think I saw.
I also mentioned the qualities a man should have if you are thinking about getting
Married.
Now, let me mention one or two things. Now, if you are aspiring to be a husband, number one thing that should cross your mind is that you are now expanding the horizon of your life. Number one thing you should get into before you get married is that you should consider your responsibility curve. Responsibility curve. Some people think that when they get married, they become responsible. Please don't wait until you become a husband before you become responsible. Become responsible before you become a husband. Who is a responsible person? A responsible person is somebody who dresses, is not somebody who dresses fine, wears fine suit, and is powerfully dressed. No. A responsible person is somebody who takes responsibility for his actions, his inactions, who looks at himself, becomes proactive, and looks at himself and tells himself, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? What am I going to do better? Take responsibility for your life. Yes, paying your bills is part of taking responsibility, but it's much more than that. Somebody who can look at a challenge and look inward first for the solution before he looks outward. That's what I mean by taking responsibility. A believer or a man who wants to be a husband who blames everything on the devil is not responsible. It's an irresponsible Christian.
Or blames on any other person.
Or any other person. Now, a young man told me that since I got married, my business began to crumble. One or two things began to happen. And I believe that my wife is responsible. Now, when we begin to shirk responsibility, we are not ready to be husbands. Yes, there are some demonic attacks that can affect business.
Right.
I'm not doubting that. But take responsibility first. A young man came back to his house. He has a wife that just has a 7-month-old baby. And the wife was crying. The baby was convulsing.
Right.
So the man ran and held the wife and the baby and continued to cry in love. That is a
that's a baby husband.
Baby boy. That is not a husband. So when the matter came to me, I told him, if your wife wasn't here, I would have just slapped you. You know, we laughed together. I said, what you should do as a responsible man is to take charge of the situation.
Right.
Command that devil out of that place and probably take the child to the hospital. Not to cry with them. Your wife does not need your cry at that time. The number two thing a man should look at if you are thinking about getting married, a young man, is become a problem solver, a solution provider. Very, very important. You may have money, you may be spiritual, but if you can solve problems, you have qualified to be a husband. When there are challenges, when there are issues, women look up to a man that they call their husband to sort it out.
Right.
And you can't sort it out. You are waiting for your wife, waiting for somebody to do that. It is irresponsibility as far as God is concerned. Now, I remember those days we were in school. If you see a guy, he doesn't have any money, but he can solve problems. Beautiful girls flocked around them. They even pay his school fee because he can solve problems. But there are these guys that are big guys, they are big-chested and they have biceps. They can't solve nothing. They are spending their money to chase girls. But the one that can solve problems, the girls are spending
money on them.
So, be a problem solver. Then number 3, be matured. Be mentally matured. Be mentally matured. Be emotionally matured. Be emotionally matured. Don't be somebody who reacts like a baby. You have to be mentally and emotionally matured. How do you handle anger? How do you handle anger? A guy who has beaten a girl twice is not qualified, even half. They are in courtship, they are dating, and the girl gets him angry, and he resorts to violence. You are not qualified to be a husband.
At the time.
You are qualified to be a hunchback, not very important. So you should be able
You're qualified to be what? A hunchback.
Be able to know
You
how
have
to
a way
manage
with
your
words.
emotions. Very important. Because women can give troubles.
That's
Especially good women. You will get a wife that you tell, sit down, she sits down. Stand up, she stands up. It's the commander again, sit down, she sits down. That is not a wife material.
That's not a good wife.
It's not a good wife. A good wife is the one you tell, sit down, she sits, stand, she stands, sit down, she asks you, darling,
why?
Why? So if you cannot stand why from women, you can't think of being a husband. Because if a woman doesn't ask you why, you make thousands of mistakes. Thousands of mistakes. Very important. So you can stand the intelligence. Women, psychology told us that a woman that is 25 years old has the cranial capacity of a 40-year-old man. That's why in some parts of the world, you see a man that is 40 married to a woman that is 22, and they are talking at
the same level.
So if you are thinking about being a husband, you must generate high cranial capacity, mental capacity, that you can manage the intelligence of women. Women are very, very intelligent. Their intuition is higher than our own. So you need to be matured properly to get to that level. Finally, for now, you need to be financially stable. I'm not saying you must be rich, financially stable. You must have an income to pick your bills and pick somebody else's bill. A man who looks at a woman's purse and thinking of, if I get married to her, she will help my ministry, she will help my business, she will help my life, the kind of money she's making, it's good for me. That's not a husband material.
That's a boy.
That's a boy. So you should be able to, in short, you shouldn't be a husband to a woman until you are a husband man.
Woo!
A husband man is a man who works, who is productive.
You shouldn't be a husband until you are a husband man.
A husband man is just an English word for a gardener.
Someone who's working.
A productive person. You must be productive before you say you want to be a husband to a woman. Women wahala is not easy.
When you say this makes me feel a little bad. Okay. Being a woman, when you keep saying that, that women wahala, we have...
No. What I mean by wahala
is what people term wahala.
The responsibility of keeping a woman as wife is not for boys.
Thank you.
It's not for boys. You have to take care of, even if she's a millionaire, for you to gain your respect in that home, you have to pick the bills, have to take care of her. I remember when we were in courtship, when I just proposed to my wife, the first week after I proposed to her, got into courtship, then they don't pay salary through the banks.
Right.
So they pay you your salary cash. So she came to church, and then after service, she told me that she had just paid her tithe and brought one big envelope like that. This is my salary. Keep it. I said, keep what? I said, I can't. No. It's your money. Go put it in your bank. It's your money. He said, no, keep it.
So that became a good quarrel at home.
So I said, no, I won't. We are not married. Now, there are two reasons.
Okay, you were not married at the time.
Not married. I just engaged her.
Oh, my.
So there are two reasons I rejected the money. Number one reason is that, to be sincere with you, as an Igbo man, I had some pride that a woman cannot feed me. Keep your money down, not to worry. The second one is that I want to demonstrate to her that it is not her money that is most important to me for proposing to her. Because she was earning about 3 or 4 times
what you were earning.
My salary as a junior pastor then was, in Nigeria, it was 2005. So, and she was earning much more. So I still told her to keep it. But can I tell you the magic here? Later, who spent that money? It was me that spent it. On a dignified dimension. Not you're a guy, you are not yet married, and then you are dating this lady, you are planning marriage, you call her, please, how much will you contribute to the wedding? You call the lady you want to marry, how much will you contribute to the wedding?
It's okay, you handle the cake. I will handle this.
Make sure you pay for the holiday. No, you don't do that as a husband material. You don't do that. Or, have they paid you? Babe, have they paid you? What is your business with her pay? So the responsibility there, financial maturity is that you are earning. It may not be enough, but make sure you are earning, you are working, you are not a lazy person.
Right.
These are some few things you can think about if you are thinking about getting married.
Awesome. Earlier you talked about responsibility. Every time I hear the word responsibility, another word comes to me, accountability.
Okay. Okay.
I find that an average person would embrace the idea of responsibility. Okay, I know I'm supposed to be responsible. But I also find that pre-marriage and post-maritally, a lot of men, Christian men, don't think that it is an obligation to be accountable to their wives. So I'm asking this question for the Christian husband. Is there a place from God's perspective where accountability to your wife is actually a demand from God? If it is not, correct it.
Now, why I felt strongly that if you are responsible, you should also be accountable.
Right.
Is that the Bible says in 1 Peter 3 verse 7 that we should relate to our wives with understanding. Now that's not the major thing there. Knowing that there are co-heirs of the inheritance of life. Now, co means equal.
We own 100% equally.
Equal heirs. Now, most men that don't get accountable to their wives make major mistakes. Accountability means that your wife knows what you are doing. Sometimes you seek counsel from her. You discuss what you want to do. She asks questions, you answer that. Not as if you are answering a servant or somebody who is not qualified to
or a subordinate.
Or a subordinate. You are responding to a partner. It is called life partnership. It's called life partnership. So you should be accountable. Now, I have this bad habit. Excuse me. I have this bad habit. And if I go out, maybe to the office or to the business, anything that took me out, when I get back home, the first thing I do is to sit down and be talking to my mom. She didn't ask me. I'm just talking.
Wow.
I'm just talking.
I really wish we had a crowd of women here who would put a round of applause for you for that.
So I'm just be talking to my wife. Do you know that women see beyond what men see? Most great men you see today, they are people that are accountable to their wives. They are accountable to their wives. Very important. Because I discovered a little bit that what a challenge a man puts 3, 4, 5 days to fast and pray about, just tell your wife.
She will see the way out.
One day prayer
intuitively.
She will give you an idea. Why? Right. You are the man at the forefront of the battle. She is like watching you.
Yeah.
Just like a coach knows better than a player. The person playing the game, the coach sees the mistakes. The player does not see. So the wife is like our coaches. She looks at what you are doing. I can remember those days when I was a younger pastor. Let me say it publicly. When we go to somewhere, my wife and I want them to know that Pastor Joe is here.
Yes.
So I give them, tell Usher to tell them that Pastor Joe. My wife will drag me. She said, what's wrong with you? Can't we sit here? I say, I'm a man
of God. I know.
So
I know.
That's some years ago. Now, if she didn't do that, I would have continued in that foolishness.
And they messed up very, very great relationships that God,
I remember those days, some years ago, almost 20-some years ago. I went to somewhere to preach. When I finished preaching, and the man said, I will see you. That I will see you, he never saw me. So I will be angry. And of course, I needed the money. I'll be very angry. My wife will tell me, leave it, you have served, work for God. Now, when she finished saying, leave it, you have work for God, the next 2 hours, she asked me, we need to buy this, we need to buy this. So we just laugh about it. What am I trying to say? If you are accountable to your wife, she has some counsel to give to you. When the Bible says, are we making a helpmeet or helper comparable to him?
Or suitable.
The word helpmeet there is almost the same with Paracletos.
Right.
The work the Holy Spirit does for us. So your wife is your advisor,
your standby,
your standby,
your counselor,
your counselor, the person that guides you,
your intercessor.
Your intercessor.
Oh my!
And she can't intercede effectively if she doesn't know where you need help, where there are challenges. Very, very important. So that he can intercede effectively or advise effectively.
So we could now say from what you've just said that a truly responsible husband, a truly responsible Christian husband is an accountable husband. Because you can't tell me you're responsible if you're not accountable. Or you're unwilling, because there are those who you know that it's a deliberate action not to give an account to their wives. And I'd like you to talk about that a little bit. Why is it that some Christian husbands, they are accountable in their offices, they're accountable to their bosses, they're accountable to, their families, but they feel it's not an obligation to be accountable to their wives?
Yes, that's a very dangerous stuff. We hear about men that the wife will ask him, where did you go? I've not heard from you for 3-4 hours. Your phone was switched off.
Right.
So you just turn to the wife.
So why are you monitoring me?
Wait, who are you for me to ask me where I went?
Right.
Should I give you a report on where I go and where I do not go? Some Christian husbands do this. Is an error. The wife, yes, irrespective of the fact that some wives don't put it in a respectable manner.
I agree.
They can just scream and shout, where are you coming from? But the issue is that before where are you coming from happens, this is where I went come first. So some men, yes, feel that it is not the right of the wife to know where I went and where I didn't go. Mm-hmm. That is wrong. It's not God's perspective. Because she is your life partner, she is your wife, she'll be able to know what you are doing, and then she can ask questions. A wife who doesn't ask questions is a very dangerous wife, because you are not helping the man, you are not asking questions. So she'll be able to ask him questions, not to challenge, but to know. Wow. Then also, let me talk to wives. If you are demanding accountability, have the maturity that matches that. Now, there are some things your husband will tell you in form of accountability. You just begin to scream and shout and condemn.
You can handle it.
He will not talk again.
Right.
So if you're a woman listening to this, accountability requires maturity on your own side.
Right.
Now, it is not all the time you give an advice to your husband that he takes all of them. But I tell husbands, sit down, collect the advice, give her respect for giving you that advice. Respect her for giving you that advice. Don't despise her words. Don't despise her wisdom. That woman, you think that she didn't go to school, she's not intelligent, you're an engineer, she's not an engineer. She knows much more than you think she does. Why? Because the husband of a foolish wife is Mr. Foolishness. Why? If you are married to a woman that you think is not intelligent, it means that you are not intelligent. Because you have been sleeping with her. You have been transferring virtues to that woman. One of the virtues you should transfer is intelligence
and wisdom.
Virtue, and wisdom. So if your wife still behaves as somebody who doesn't have brain, it means that your brain has not been working well, unless you are not mentoring her properly. I'm going to talk about one responsibility of husband is to, brainwash your wife.
Right.
Brainwash not in a negative sense. Mentor your wife.
Where the Bible talks about washing her, with the water of the word.
That's the scripture I have here, Ephesians chapter 5.
Right.
Now, you cannot be a husband who does not pastor the wife. You don't need to be a pastor. Pastor the wife. Mentor your wife. Coach her. Very important. That's why don't marry a
Help
woman.
her paradigm. Help her to think the way you think.
To think the way you think that is correct.
Yeah.
That is right.
Yeah.
Not
that
really
is in
that
accordance.
She doesn't have a mind of her own, but a wife. Can I talk to people that are not yet married?
Please
a
go
young
ahead.
man.
Please go ahead.
Don't marry a woman that cannot look up to you. Sisters, don't marry a man you can't look up to. If you feel that the person you're about to wed, that you have more intelligence, you are smarter, please slow down. The design God has is the Ephesians chapter 5.
Right.
Verse 25, I'm going to read some few verses here. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it. Why? What is the responsibility of this love? that he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the
By
word.
the word. Hallelujah.
This is the responsibility we have over our wives. That he might present it to himself. My God. Present it to himself. A glorious church. Okay. A glorious wife. Let me remove the church and put wife. Not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that the wife should be holy and without blemish. Now, holy here is not just opposite of sin. No. Holy here is wholesome, complete, becoming all that she should be. Self-development is part of love. Helping somebody to self-develop.
Right.
To get into what the person should be without blemish. So ought men to love their wives. This is how you should love your wife.
Wow.
When I say, baby, I love you, love is much more than baby, I love you. This is what I mean.
Right.
So ought men to love their wives as their own body. He that loveth wife loveth himself. For no man ever hated his own flesh, and so on and so forth. So, but nourisheth it and cherisheth it. So that is the mentoring and the brainwashing I'm talking about. You become what your wife will look up to, whom your wife will look up to. You become a model to him. Now, we have an aberration in the body of Christ today, which I need to correct here. I'm not talking to wives, but I need to mention that. Now, pastors, pastor husbands and pastor wives. But God's requisition for a wife is that you honor your husband. It is that honor you will now extend to the pastor.
Right.
There are some wives that honor their pastor and they disrespect their husbands.
Absolutely.
And when a husband discovers you disrespecting, he will hate both you and the pastor. That's why some wives are church people and their husbands are not there. That's not the major reason. No. But there are some husbands that you see, they withdraw. That the wife, when the pastor says anything, it's like God has spoken. But when the husband speaks, it's like nobody is talking. Even if he doesn't have money, he's still your husband. Even if he's an usher and you are the general overseer of the ministry, when he's talking at home, he is your general overseer. So when we give them respect, husbands, they become who they should be. But a husband, please, can I beg you, if you discover that your wife is more excited when she hears another man talk and you discover it, what you need to do, don't quarrel about it. Don't fight. One of my friends, we say, up your game. You just up your game.
Upscale.
Upscale.
Right.
Develop. Move up a little bit and become a model. Don't talk to her about it, but move up a little bit.
Become deliberate.
Become intentional.
Very intentional.
Intentional
about
to become
personal growth.
A model, an example for her. You will see it. But if you begin to quarrel her and begin to fight her and begin to give command up and down, you are not treating yourself properly because you are not developing. You are not giving her a good example. She will only think that you are jealous.
Right.
But yes, love has jealousy. You should be jealous, but up your game to a level that your wife now looks up to you and say, my husband has changed. Handle things maturely. That's what makes us.
Or she finds wisdom in what you say.
What you say.
Yeah, because sometimes I find that in marriage relationships, one of the reasons why women also become, in a sense, disrespectful is there is just this thing about every girl that wants someone she can look up to. But if you don't put yourself in that position, it becomes a struggle for her. She's listening to you, but she's not gaining any wisdom.
That's true.
She's not gaining any wisdom.
Very, very correct.
So a man's job would be, a Christian husband, which brings me to my next question. How important is studying? Because I find that a lot of men would study about money, finances, business, leadership. But I find that when it has to do with emotional issues, you talked about emotional intelligence and emotional maturity. When it has to do with relationships, how to succeed in relating with even another person. Now, they study about how to relate well, in the business and professional arena. But when it has to do with interpersonal or in, the marital relationship, few men would pick up a book on marriage, and you see that a man is sitting down to study about marriage. Maybe they probably will study about sex, because I find sex is very important to men. It is important to women, but it seems to be that's where they're more interested in.
Yes.
But when it has to do with studying with the components that make a marriage work, that makes a relationship with the opposite sex work, very, very few men are humble enough, because I think it also takes humility. You talked about humility. Humble enough to spend time to study and say, I don't know. I feel there's this assumption, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, that a lot of men, Christian men, assume that because they're now of age, they now have a car, they've now paid for a house, they've furnished the whole house, they earn a good salary, that they are now ready for marriage. And I feel that all that is just the carcass has been created, but the content is very minimal. So please, could you just look at that angle?
Now, I don't know who called marriage an institution. I don't know who coined the marriage institution.
Right.
Now, institution means where you learn, where you study. Now, before we used to say if we want to hide anything from an African man or a black man, put
hide
it in a book. Mm-hmm. But today is beyond put it in a book. We can now learn in the internet. Now, even white people that read a lot and learn, they still mess up as husbands.
Right.
I mean, some people, you know. Now, the issue is, what are you studying? It's not about learning. Somebody can have PhD in psychology,
right,
and still fail as a husband. One can be a professor in one thing or the other. Now, the issue is, what are you learning? The Bible says in 2 Timothy 2 verse 15, study to show yourself approved
unto God.
Unto God. He now said, a workman that need not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. Mm-hmm. People think that place is talking about a preacher. Far, far, far from it. Rightly dividing the word of truth is knowing how to use the word of God to solve life problems. To handle issues. So you need to study. One nature of natural inclination of men is ego and pride.
Right.
What can another person teach me that I don't know? If only my wife will obey my instructions, marriage works. What can I learn from that pastor? What can I learn from that seminar? What can I even learn from this book? But one sign of wisdom is to keep learning. That one quality of wisdom is to keep learning.
Proverbs chapter 1 verse 5. It says the wise add to their learning.
To their learning, to their knowledge. That one quality of wisdom. So please, I am pleading with men. Keep learning. And in that learning, in marriage institution, one of your lecturers is your wife. That's the person that you ask questions, and sometimes we take it for granted that I already know what she wants. I ministered somewhere, and then I was talking with a woman, was counseling her. She said that, how do I get the intimacy with my husband? I said, just talk to him, that you want to hear him, discuss, interact. She said, one day I called him that I'm missing you in action. He said, what is it? He said, you don't have time for me. Please talk to me. Let's discuss. The man got into the bedroom and he came out with a bundle of money and dumped it for her. Mint. Said, go and do shopping.
Wow.
Jumped into his car and left. She said she collected the money. But when the man came back, she told the man, this is not what I want. So men think that it is gifts that women want. So learn, find out what they want, find out from other people's experiences, especially people that had challenges in their relationships.
Right.
Find out what made them have challenges. Then study people that have succeeded. Find out what made them succeed. We study about business. I also blend churches and pastors. We have special programs, healing programs, deliverance service. We don't have relationship services as often as we should.
Right.
And the major thing in life is relationship.
And that's what makes up the church.
We have business services. We have a lot of things.
Right.
Most churches is just once or twice in a year.
Right.
They do such stuff. But you see a husband and a wife that drove together to church and they were not talking to each other. The same way after they enter the car and leave. So begin to learn, how do I become intentional in my relationship, relating with people? Emotional intelligence is very, very important. It's more qualitative than IQ.
Right.
You can be smart in your business. You can be spiritual and in your service to God, but poor in relating with people. My own definition of emotional intelligence, high emotional intelligence, is the ability to relate with high and low, poor and rich, stupid and wise, without making them know that they are wise, they are stupid, they are poor. You relate to them.
Just finding that equilibrium with everyone.
To relate with that person.
Ooh.
And look at the person's perspective and not see your own as superior.
Right.
Now, when we can do that as men, marriages will be easier. There are a lot of crises in the institution called marriage today, because many people, I discovered, many people don't know what they should know.
Now, this is what he has said to us, this morning. Many people do not know. Many people do not know what they ought to know. They do not know what they should know as husbands. My guest today has been Reverend Dr. Joe Igboanugo, and this is the Christian Life live sessions on Facebook and on YouTube. And before I go forward, I'd like to also mention to you, for those of you who are watching on YouTube, I'd like you to just click on our subscribe button, and the notification bell, so that every time we upload a new video, you'll be notified about it, and you won't miss any session of the Christian Life, because great things are in store and are coming. Now, we've actually literally run out of time. We've had about 60 minutes of this conversation.
Wow.
I know this always happens. And I have so many questions still to ask you, but I'd like to end today, with a question. In Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 5. Let me just go to that verse, okay? Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 5. The Bible says, when a man has taken a new wife, he shall not go out to war or be charged with any business. He shall be free at home 1 year and bring happiness to his wife whom he has taken. Now, every time I read that verse of scripture in the Old Testament, I mean, of course, we agreed. Let's be on a platform of agreement first of all, that it's Old Testament, New Testament is different from Old Covenant and the New Covenant, right? Okay, so in the Old Testament, in Deuteronomy, this is a requirement for every young man that gets married. I want to know, in today's world, is there, because there was a reason why God gave that as an injunction, is there its New Testament applicability in the marriage, the contemporary marriage, for the Christian husband?
Okay.
I'd like to know that.
Thank you. Today, if somebody gets married and then he wants to stay at home without working, without doing any stuff for 1 year, he's cutting hunger, So now the application now, let me get historic a little bit. In those days, you don't have what we have today, that betrothed persons see themselves often.
Right.
They're just on their own. You get to, there was nothing like really courtship, Now, staying with your wife for 1 year, don't go to war. Number one is you might go to war and be killed, and you have not raised a seed for yourself.
Right.
Number two, don't even work. Stay together, study about each other, interact with each other, and then become intimate within that 1 year. And then make sure you get your wife pregnant within that 1 year. Because if you go to war, you may not come back. Now, but today, we have a version of what is called honeymoon. Now, you cannot see honeymoon in the Bible, but it means when you get married, please spend at least 1 year, 2 years to do as if you are in courtship, to get more intimate, to harmonize your differences, assimilate your different perspectives. 1, 2 years. Spend time. Not when people get married, this person has rushed out to work and stays. I heard of a marriage that after their wedding, the next day, the woman traveled back abroad and stayed there 3-4 years. She couldn't come back. The man is now asking her, is she still the wife or not? Now, such things are unhealthy development. So when we get married now, sit down, spend time, not just honeymoon. Honeymoon, some of them
2 weeks, 1 week.
Sit down and still see yourself as if you are in courtship, as if you are dating, and then take your mistakes, absorb them, take your differences, look at what looks like liabilities and assets, and harmonize them in the first 2 years of marriage. That is foundational time. The strength of any marriage is on the first 2 years.
Right.
Very important.
Right.
It's on the first 2 years of the marriage. Even you people that are in the legal profession, if somebody goes for divorce, there is a gap of separation that they are given before the marriage is annulled. So when you get married, sit down together, interact. You want to fight the fight, but let it not exceed the 2 years.
Right.
You have known each other a little bit. I think that's the version now, what we can take in the New Testament.
Yeah. Okay. So, in talking, because I'd like us to round this up, we never ever seem to get to the end of these conversations. But I'd like you've been in marriage for over 2 decades. And watching today are several young men probably who are just married, about to be married, or have been in marriage a while and are finding a few things tough. I'd like you to just look into that camera and speak a word to them, because this is your field. I'm sure literally on a daily basis you have men call you, women call you. Many people are unhappy. And I believe, many years ago when we got born again, you used to hear there's a fellowship that always said that they were the happiest people on earth. Yeah. And I think that's what Jesus, in our lives is meant to do. Everything might not be perfect, but we should be amongst the happiest people on the earth, because we have the source of, the answer for literally everything we go through in life. So my question would be, what would you say to the Christian man today, the Christian husband? Men, we need you to do X, Y, Z so that we can have happier wives, happier children, happier homes. Of course, I don't need to let you know, there are children who hate their fathers, but their fathers are Christians. They go to church. They carry their Bibles. But the hearts of the children are angry. They're just waiting for that moment when they would leave home. And I don't know if I'm wrong, but it's been like a trend. And if I'm wrong, correct me. There are a lot of husbands who, in their old age, suffer more, because you find that the children even abandon them and take care of their mothers more than their fathers. So I'd like you to talk to them. I don't know if you've observed that, but it's something I've sat down to study, and I've seen a lot of husbands suffer in old age because of certain things that they've carried on while, growing up in the marriage with the wives, and they find that in the old age, the children take care of their mother and don't really take care of the father like they should. So I'd like you to speak to husbands as we close today.
Now, dear brother and colleague in this husband business, what I have discovered over the years is that fundamentals are very, very important in any vocation. One major fundamentals of marriage is that marriage is not instituted or discovered by any culture or civilization. It's not Europeans. Marriage is not European. Marriage is not Asian. Marriage is not African. Marriage is not anything.
American.
Marriage is only God. So God instituted marriage. God conducted the first wedding, first traditional marriage, first everything. He did it. Now, if you will succeed and be happy as a Christian husband, you should marry your wife as a Christian, not as a tribesman, not as somebody that is from this tribe, this tradition, this culture. No. As a Christian husband, if you relate to your wife as a Christian, primarily, you will be happy.
Right.
Your wife will be happy. Your children will be happy. I remember some years ago, one of my eldest brother or somebody came to our house and then saw me doing some chores that in my own side of the world, men don't do that when their wives are around. So he asked me he called me, Pastor, what are you doing? Because I have respect for him. He's like my father. I didn't talk. I just walked away. But if he's a younger person, I would have said one or two things. But there are certain things your culture does not permit you to do for your wife, but the Bible permits you to do that.
Expects you to do it, actually.
Expects you to do
right.
that. When you love your wife, there are no boundaries to what you can do to make her happy, to make her comfortable. Can I tell you something about children and disparity in relation to their mother and their father, even when the parents are old? Now, one of the best things you can do for your children, send them to good schools. Take care of them. Send them on vacation. Do whatever you want for them. Buy stuff for them. But the best thing you can do for any child is to love their mother unconditionally. The best thing you can do for any child is for the child to know you love their mother unconditionally. Today, some husbands are fighting with their wives and they're showing love and endearment to the children. You are wasting your time.
Wow.
When that child grows up, that child knows that you hated the mother. Very, very important. So you can be taking care of the child, take the child out. You have no regard, no respect for the mother. The children, they take note of that.
Right.
So what do? Marry your wife not as a tribesman, or marry your wife as Christ relates to the church. Love her unconditionally. How do you relate to a wife that is rebellious? You don't relate to her in a rebellious way too. Don't pay her evil for evil. You are the leader. Give a direction to how the home goes by the way you relate to them. And then be a good model of Jesus to your wife. Be a good model of God to your children.
Wow.
There are some children that stay far from church today because their father does not model God that he talks about.
Wow. In
his relationship. How can you tell me that you beat your wife in the presence of your children or to the knowledge of your children, and you are still praying and you are still telling the children that there is God?
It's difficult.
So these are the areas you look at, balance it, and at old age, you shall enjoy your life with your children. There will be no disparity because they know you love them, you love their mother. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Doctor. I'm deliberately calling you Doctor. Thank you so much for your time today and for sharing your insights. And trust me, I'm going to call you again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, for those of you who are just tuning in, we've been in the session today, The Christian Life. And my guest today has been Reverend Dr. Joe Igboanugo, the relationship coach, the guru himself, the host of My Marriage Must Work conferences that hold quarterly in the city of Port Harcourt, Nigeria. It's been an amazing, amazing time. Now, if you've watched it and you have some questions or you want us to take a look at something, I actually forgot to ask him a question that a lady posted last week, so I'm going to get him back to answer that question in another session. But if you do have a question, put it in the comment section or send me, a direct message if it's too private, and we'll see what we can do about it. Well, till I come your way next week, my name is Pastor Chinelo Dillimono. I really believe that Jesus is Lord and he is come so that each one of us might know him, might walk with him, and that our lights would shine to the world for the entire world to see. So till I come your way next week, Thursday, remain blessed, remain loving, and keep following Jesus. Keep walking your talk. When you read what you see in Scripture, live it and let the name of the Lord be glorified. God bless you all.